Doing primetime wrestling was really cool because it was kind of an event that night with Bobby and Gorilla in the
Yeah.
studio, and I did some of the commentary, and everybody was, it was good. It was a great time that I miss.
Yeah, and I think we didn't we host
Yes,
one time. I know there's a picture that exists, and I think that we hosted one of the shows. I don't remember
Yeah.
why that circumstance came up,
I know.
but
We did a
like I said,
we did a Coliseum video show. We had Coliseum
yeah,
videotapes and merchandise, and we were just showing excerpts from these Coliseum videos that you can buy.
Okay.
yeah,
And that was the entire 2 hour show. And I think I don't know if Heenan couldn't make it or Gorilla couldn't make it.
yeah,
And I think, I don't, it may have been Bruce or it may have been Kevin Dunn that said, let's just do a Coliseum video show. So it was both of us. Yeah.
yeah. But I know that's, like I said, I wish we would have gotten more chances because when you do this a while, when you click,
Yeah.
when you're with somebody that you go like, I can work with this guy, and
Sure.
and I always felt that way with you, and of course my other mentors who put me under their wings, Gorilla and Bobby, and
Right.
of course Alfred. I would have
Right.
never survived if it wasn't for those
Yeah.
guys. But primetime was magic with
Yes, it
Bobby and Gorilla. They were an unbelievable team. To me, the best ever. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm biased because I love them so much. But I liked Vince and Jesse together, but only those two together. I didn't think they ever worked well together with anybody else.
Right.
But Bobby and Gorilla, come on, it was just unscripted. Go, we've got we need this in in 5 minutes or whatever it was, and it was go.
Right.
And so many great moments.
And the one where
You're in the news business these days, and you've also had the distinction of working for Vince McMahon. What was more challenging? What was more pressure, working for Vince or doing the news?
Oh man, absolutely, Vince. And and the thing is, thank God that I had him in my life because, first of all, just because they plucked me out as a producer trying to be a talent. But the opportunities that you got back in, this I was talking about being the small company we got to do everything. Like Tony, remember we were, you were doing Coliseum videos. I did studio work. I did,
right.
Arenas where you'd have to go out there with a microphone and work a crowd. I think they had some of really, maybe others were doing it, but nobody really did a fan fest. First, like they did. I remember when we were in Atlantic City, those first ones, and they threw me out there like, you're going to host this thing with 7 of the guys,
right.
Panel discussion, right. And that couldn't have been a better place to learn how to do everything. And then, of course, Vince was brutal. I mean, you never wanted to screw up, and especially when you were an announcer. I mean, imagine at a pay-per-view event, you totally can understand this. You did it, but if you've got say 2 or 3 people in an interview situation, you're the mic stand basically. You can't screw that up. So you never wanted to be the guy that blew the stuff we did, not just because we did it live, even if it was to tape. I never wanted to have Vince look at me like So yeah, that was pressure, and it prepared me for nothing, Conrad, in my life. And I've done some pretty crazy things as far outside of there, conventions, national conventions where the red light came on and that totally prepared me for everything. And I've given credit to that forever. If I wouldn't have had that training that I had, and also the pipes. I mean, when I used to do the event center, I'd sit there all day long, 8 hours saying, going to, Madison Square Garden this Friday night, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. And I would sit there then, okay, now next, Poughkeepsie, all these, Austin, boom, boom, boom. And then Howard would call, Sean, Warrior hurt his knee. You got to do 17 markets. Like, what the? And then you have to stay there and redo the markets. There's a famous tape somewhere, I hope somebody finds it one day, of Howard calling me up to tell me I had to do 10 markets. And I'm like, and I pick up, it's a red phone. It was on the table. And I picked the thing up and threw it across the studio. And it was on tape. I wish I would have saved it, but yeah. But it was a great, great training ground.
Yeah. Back in the day,
No question
John
about
Arnold
it.
would have known where John
Oh,
Arnold would have known where it would have been.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, the people that,
Mhm.
and Chuck Rose, you remember Chuck Rose? He was in the tape room. He passed
Yeah.
away just recently,
Really?
like within
Right.
the last, yeah. But that's what I said. Like all those people was such a small family,
Yeah.
and we taped everything at Hamilton. And getting
Right.
back to prime time, now there was like three versions of that we saw. We had the Bobby and Gorilla, the set with them at the desk, and then we had the panel discussion. Remember that with Vince and Kurt did a lot of those.
Right.
And then we did the live show, which I got the opportunity to work with Bobby, and that was like one of the thrills of my life. It's to do that, that live show that we did in studio, and so it was just it was a playground, for people that and for the boys too, because it gave them an opportunity to be in a different format and really be up for 4 or 5 minutes doing bits that were nothing related to what they were doing as far as their card went or what their thing that they were, the storyline they were going through. So it was great. It really was.
So, and it was a long time ago, Sean. The episode we're going to watch was, you ready? 35 years ago.
Oof. Yeah. It's, I don't remember shit. Like stuff comes back to me though. Because like they said, you're going to talk about primetime. I got to tell you a story about Kurt, but I don't know where you want to go with it. But I remembered a story tonight that I can't believe I forgot about it, but you guys brought the memory back. So I got to tell it, but I don't know, whatever you want to ask about it, but
yeah, let's do it. If you got time, more for
well, this is when they were doing the panel discussion.
Yes.
And do you remember that, Bobby would be there, and Vince, and then they'd bring, Kurt was there, but then they'd bring, somebody, whoever was in town.
Hillbilly Jim or whoever.
Hillbilly Jim, exactly.
Yes.
And Vince loved it because he loved to put you in that situation. And they decided it'd be a great idea to have me do the event center. And so they had my little desk set up that they moved it towards the set. So they just throw over to me, and I wouldn't necessarily plug an event, but I would throw to the generic superstar interviews. But they would put up, when I would do these things, they had a teleprompter, but it was way too much material. I never read stuff. But what they would do is they would take a sheet of paper and it would have the card on it or whatever, if I was throwing to interviews, and they would just use the camera. If you know how the teleprompter works, it's like in front of a camera and you can put something up on there, whether it's text or whatever. So they would like tape these cards up. And Kurt saw it one time and he goes, well, he's just trying to be really nice. What did that do? Oh, really? And I'm like, I remember thinking after I told him, I'm like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have told him that. Because I could just see something in his eyes. So, and we did this, like we did it live to tape, basically. It's like it wasn't like, let's do that again. That's the way we did it.
Right.
So they throw to me, and I go and I start doing my bit, whatever it was I was throwing to, and I see in the camera hands coming in there, and he takes the sheet away, and I'm like, and thank God, I just was kind of familiar with the interviews we're throwing, and I just keep going, but he's going and he's like flipping me off in front of the camera. He's got like, and then he's like putting stuff up and says, I can't remember. It was like your mother. It was stuff like that on pieces of paper. Yes. And he was just, so he did that through the entire show. And so I never knew it was coming. And I was like, I didn't want to say something to Vince because I don't know what he was going to say. Right. But it was like crazy that he was going in there and he figured it out with the camera. But that's the way Kurt was,
Well, you know what? Once again, it taught you, didn't it?
Well, that's
what
I'm saying, because you always had to be on your toes for everything that was going to happen. But especially like when Kurt was around, you didn't know what he was going to do, but you had to be on your toes because the stuff that he would do was insane.
Right.